All right, now to our first conversation. Financial inclusion has been described as a tool for driving inclusive economic growth, reducing inequality, eliminating systemic poverty, and improving communal welfare. Studies have shown a strong correlation exists between financial inclusion and economic development. Well, fintechs are playing a role with financial inclusion in Nigeria, as over 200 fintechs currently operate in Nigeria. Well, let's get some insights and developments in the fintech space. We have Chizo Malize, Managing Director of Financial Institutions Training Center, FITC, joining us right here. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm very glad to be here again.
Great to have you. So, we've been talking a lot about, financial inclusion, in Nigeria, getting the unbanked, banked, and, all of that. But I'm wondering, how is tech and innovation changing, our world at this time?
Technology has totally changed the way that we live lives, from transportation to communication to socialization, entertainment, even healthcare and education. And we've also seen the way that COVID-19 has totally made everyone understand that technology is a huge enabler. We can live around technology and have better and easier life. So technology has extended to the way that organizations are even interacting with their people and the way that organizations design products, because the designs of these products and the engagement of their consumers and markets are primarily driven by technology today. So technology has totally changed the way that even medicine and medical experts operate, because you can begin to see telemedicine and several engagements around technology that minimizes human interaction while there is still great opportunity for growth. But I think that the most interesting thing also is the way that organizations are leveraging technology to create ease for life. So if you find organizations like big technology companies like Samsung and LG, they are able to deploy technology products, driven products, to the extent that you're so reliant on them. And with Internet of Things, your television, your washing machine, your microwave, your refrigerator are all interlinked. And with Internet of Things, you are able to have an easy life, having to get connected with all of your appliances. So organizations are changing, individuals are changing, and we are all changing all over the world.
Quite interesting, a lot of change going on there. And, looking at our financial, the landscape in Nigeria, let's go back maybe 5 years now, let's have a comparison, with what we have, today with all these fintech startups, coming up. How much of an improvement have we seen?
Significant improvement. The last 1 decade has been very remarkable, the way that the fintech companies has created and democratized banking and financial services. So when you look at the huge developments around e-wallets, where you can simply hold your cash and be able to do simple transactions like order a taxi with Uber, Taxify, food, anything that you want, they come to you, because technology has created easier products that does not necessarily have to be big, huge banking solutions. And so besides e-wallet is also cash out, where you can make easy payments and receive payments. So wherever your money is, it's coming to you, and whoever you want to settle, you're also able to settle that. There are several other products that they have created that we have seen over the time that has made life easier. So lending, just think about micro lending. So SMEs and entrepreneurs are able to build their businesses through the very innovative way that fintech companies has created lending solutions. Just at the top of your phone, you're able to get more money, to be able to invest in your business, and to be able to create more market. So you look at Carbon, you look at Sparkle, you look at Quick Cash. All of these organizations are creating solutions and products that means that no matter where you are, no matter what service you provide, you can borrow from them, add to your business, do much more, expand your market, and grow. And so all these are fostering economy. And of course, there is also the budget tools and for organizations and the financial management tools. I personally, as a management consultant, has extensively leveraged Bento Africa solution and product to be able to manage salaries, to be able to manage staff loans, to be able to manage tax, pension, and every single thing without even having to move out. And so all of these fintech companies, very innovative disruptors like we know, are bringing all of this ease to life, to businesses, to organizations, and of course the economy at large.
Yeah, but talking about the lending services, we've had issues recently with, some turning into loan sharks. And we've seen Consumer Protection actually clamp down, on some of these? How can they, make their services actually, abide with the law, at this point?
So, and that's a very good one. Everywhere that are weak systems, framework, policies, you would always have those. So it is the time when supervisors and regulators of the financial service sector must begin to lead the game and the play around the fintech companies to be able to create frameworks and policies for stricter supervisions and regulation, collaborating with them to be able to consistently deliver the services, create more innovation, but work within a framework. And I think FITC is doing so much around that, and I'll talk to you about that later.
Quite interesting. But, we've seen most of these fintechs emerge as, unicorns, leveraging technology with new, designs for financial, solutions. Quite interesting. We've seen a couple of them actually raise incredible amounts of funding.
Yes.
But how are you seeing, a domestic investor participation in all of this?
So domestic participation is very important, and I do know also that there are several angel investors today who are seeking these organizations, seeking these opportunities. So while the FDIs come with a lot of resources and big muscles, it's also important that we consistently keep these organizations within us. Otherwise, we are betting and growing organizations that would not really be Nigerian companies because the investors are international and foreign. So all of the people who've got the muscles, the resources around here must begin to look into the fintech as alternative resource platforms for investments. So if you look at all the companies and organizations quoted on the Nigerian Stock Exchange, this is the time to begin to realize that even the fintech companies also have the capability to absorb all of those resources. And then, of course, we have seen how they raise money and they become bigger than banks in terms of ranking and in terms of ratio. So if we can get all of those FDIs, I do know significantly so many Nigerians would be able to put much money so that we can bet our own indigenous companies and keep our resources, our assets, and our intellectual property in Nigeria.
And it'd be quite interesting to see, some of these fintechs actually, go public, at this point. How are you seeing that landscape?
I do believe that is the best way to go. Consistently, the FDIs foreign direct investment is coming in. They're all huge sums of money coming from people who are not, a lot of them are not even Africans, so they're not from the continent. So the moment you begin to have those escapes, the moment we begin to lose greater opportunities. So yes, there is knowledge transfer. Yes, there is individual successes, but we really would like to see the fintech companies quoted on the exchange. And the resources are both in Nigeria and in Africa, and we should be able to do that. Quite
interesting. And the World Bank stated that goal is to achieve universal financial access, by 2020 in Nigeria. The CBN has a clear target of reaching about 80% inclusion, by the end of the decade. How are fintechs, contributing to all of these goals?
So we know how crucial that financial inclusion is. From the look of it and from the outside of the fintech, we are only seeing organizations that are creating innovation, creating solutions, creating products, leveraging technology. But when you break it down, we have fintech innovators and disruptors that are actually driving reach and penetration, and that's what financial inclusion is. So they are creating financial service products that can reach even the unbanked. So I read about an 80-year-old grandmother that was thinking about how she can get all of her assets from retirement. And ordinarily, having worked in Lagos for over 30 years and retired into somewhere in the southwest, she was able to get her money on her app, on her phone. In the past, a decade ago, somebody would have said, come to Lagos, our head office is in Lagos. But she didn't have to do that, all on her phone. And that's the way that penetration is beginning to happen, thanks to the fintech companies and the innovations that they are bringing. Now, besides the penetration is also the access to finance, which is what financial inclusion is about. Access to finance is critical because when people Today, for instance, we've got only about 48% of people who have bank accounts. And so the fintech innovative products are able to reach greater number of people, even in the rural areas, wherever they are, so long as they've got a phone through mobile banking, through SMS banking. And the access that they get as a result of this means that no matter where you are, you would have access to education because you've got access to finance, access to better health care, access to business opportunities because then you can invest in any business that is around you. We've seen how there is even proliferation of agent banks almost in every rural place you go today. You are able to walk up to them and get money and do whatever you need to do locally. So you can imagine the businesses that are also able to incubate in those local resources as a result. When you think about this penetration and you think about this access that these products are causing, then you can begin to think about the economic empowerment that is coming as a result of the fact that businesses can begin to grow. But most importantly is nation building. So if you look at all of this, the fintechs have driving penetration, driving access to finance, helping to catalyze economic growth, and that's nation building by virtue of economic stability and security.
Right, and talking about that penetration, we've seen the telecom giants there, MTN, get the license to actually operate as a payment, service bank, at this point. Quite an interesting time, in Nigeria, where we can actually see, mobile money penetration with this happening. But how do you see this?
I think it's a great play. And I'll tell you about the difference in another market. In Kenya, Telecoms, Safaricom, M-Pesa started the mobile banking approach. So 80% of the micro-lending that is happening in Kenya is by M-Pesa, which is owned by Safaricom, which is a telco. So you find that is the other way for us. So the telcos are coming in late in this market, while in Kenya, they led the change. So today, that M-Pesa product is unarguably the most successful financial service product in the whole of Africa. But the interesting thing is that even though the telcos are late entrants in Nigeria today, it's going to flip the game because they've got the numbers. In terms of reach, they are going to be riding on the existing infrastructure that they have, customer base that they have, subscription base that they have. But financial inclusion is financial inclusion. Whoever is leading it, it's not what is important. What is important is that we're meeting our national goals, we're meeting the CBN target set, we're also aligning to the global target set. So at the end of the day, the fintech, the telcos, with the size and might that they have, both in terms of resources, infrastructure, and subscriber base, would scale the vision for financial inclusion. And that's in the interest of both the economy and the nation and the world at large. So it's a good development.
Quite interesting. And, I've seen some chatter, on social media. They're talking about how this is actually a threat to fintechs and banks. What do you think?
Well, every business opportunity is a threat to someone. All everybody needs to do is to wake up, get up, become more innovative. First of all, it puts you on your toes. It brings quality and standardization. It also brings aggression in the marketplace in the way that stimulates innovation, deeper thinking. So everybody has said the fintech are threats to banks. The banks are still there. The fintech are only developing new things that is democratizing banking and financial services reach. So when the telcos come, they would only add to what's happening already, and there'll probably not be any big threat. They would only be adding value in the same way that others are. And the market is huge. So for a nation where the banking population is at 48%, what do you think is going to happen to the rest of the 52 that are not banked? Let someone bank them.
Right.
Yeah?
Quite interesting. Well, competition is good for consumers at this point. But, what is FITC, doing to contribute to all of these goals when it comes to financial inclusion and, financial literacy?
Big time, doing big things. And I would start, first of all, with what we are doing with consumer literacy, operators literacy, knowledge for both operators and investors. So from time to time, we roll out very fantastic and innovative programs that bring knowledge about the financial service sector, products, services, with emphasis on fintech. And these knowledge programs, whether they are through our thought leadership programs like the conferences or the workshops or the summits or the executive education programs, bring a lot of learning around technology and innovation, market growth and business growth opportunities. So these are the ways that consumers learn much more about what's happening in that industry, and then operators know much more about new developments that can enhance their operations. But more importantly also is investors begin to understand much more about the industry. So you do not necessarily have to be a tech to understand that there is an opportunity in investing in financial technology. So on June 29th and 30th, for instance, we're going to have another of our biggest fintech conference like we usually do every year, and that's the Technovate conference. And so these conferences have a minimum of approximately 5,000 participants, over 50 speakers from all across the world, bringing resources, insight, local and international, to the game. Another way, very interestingly, that FITC is leading the game in knowledge sharing and extending knowledge across the sector and industries for efficient play is what we do with regulators. So we asked already about how we can consistently make the fintech companies remain strong, well-regulated, and standardized. So we bring a lot of knowledge to fintech, to the financial services regulators. And when we do this, we create like risk-based supervision for fintech, specifically designed for regulators, so that they can understand the fintech space, the opportunities, the risks inherent, and the way that they can formulate policies and framework to create the quality and standard that is required.
Quite a lot FITC is.
There's another one.
Right there.
And very lastly, we do not end at this two. We also look to grow knowledge. So right now, we've got a network of over 10,000 youths in across the whole of Africa under our program Youth Connect. Under Youth Connect, we are specifically focused on creating capacity and skills around technology and innovation for young people who invariably, at the end of the day, are assumed within the financial service sector as professionals.
Quite interesting. Well, we have so many, a huge population of the youth, and this is actually a good one. It would be interesting to see how this sector plays out in the next decade. Thank you so much, Chizo Malize, MD, FITC, for coming on the program. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure to come back.
Thank you. All right, so after the break, AFEX Commodities Market Update is next. Do stay with us. This is Business Morning.